So being followed on foot by somebody that has possibly the intention of causing you both psychological harm or physical harm is not a nice experience. So what I want to do is look at some, shall we say, some ideas and solutions to hopefully keep you safe and reduce the risk. Hello, my name's Will and I talk a lot on this channel about personal safety. Now, being followed on foot is not a nice experience. Anybody that has ever experienced, inclusive of myself, of having somebody unintentionally walking behind you or following you makes you feel very stressful. Whether their intentions are to psychologically, shall we say, scare you or possibly cause you a physical degree of harm. What I want to do is look at some 5 key areas I've picked up on over the years to keep myself safe. And hopefully yourselves will have a think about it. Because there's one thing I've learned over the years, especially talking to people about being followed. Until you've actually been followed, you don't know how actually scary it can actually be. And I've met many people over the years that have made jokes about being followed and having somebody behind you and what they would always do. But when it actually happens, it doesn't actually go to plan, because you could be in an area you're unfamiliar with, or you could be somewhere where it's quite dark. And these are the things we, shall we say, forget about sometimes. And what I try to encourage people when I teach personal safety, above anything else, if you're going to go to an area where you've never been before or you don't feel safe, you should be thinking of things like safe zones. And what I mean on a safe zone is if something happens, it's somewhere to go to feel safe. But we'll come to that again on another video. But let's look at things we should be thinking about when someone is following on us. So the number one rule is don't panic. Now, it's easy for me to say that on this platform. Say to you, don't panic, don't stress, don't get excited, when you will naturally, shall we say, have a higher stress level. Adrenaline will flow through your system a lot more faster. You'll probably become more aware and more, shall we say, acute to noises. And things will start to, shall we say, speed up a little bit. But what I'm trying to get you to do is think rationally. If you've got earphones in, take them out. If you've got a mobile phone in your hand, put it away. Make sure if you've got a bag, make sure it's secure. Make sure nothing's hanging off you like belts or anything that can be grabbed onto. Think to yourself, how secure are you? Try and keep, shall we say, confident. If you look vulnerable, there's a higher percentage chance the person that's following you will, shall we say, work on that. They'll try and see if they can intensify your stress levels. So you've got to think to yourself, how do I keep calm? Many people have used systems over the past by saying taking 5 deep breaths. Try and control your breathing. Try and focus. Try and clearly think where you are. If you have to, stop still for a second. That is one of the things that they've always suggested in the past. If your stress levels or if you feel intimidated, try and keep calm. Now, number 2 is slightly different. Obviously, number 1 says don't panic. Number 2 says don't do anything silly. That means don't start running across roads, hiding in doorways, starting to, shall we say, avoid the person by trying to hide behind vehicles or trying to get in between traffic or things like that. There's so many things on the internet and on YouTube you can say where they'll say to you, you double back or you go on an escalator and then you turn at the bottom and go immediately the opposite way so you can get a good look at the person. Yes, okay, right, okay. It might work in certain situations, but as I've actually pointed out to people, where do you actually find an escalator when you're looking for one? Okay, where are you going to hide behind a vehicle and things like this? You will actually feel stupid. You'll probably even start thinking to yourself, oh, am I being, shall we say, sensible, or am I imagining somebody's following me? Easiest, simplest way is don't do anything stupid. Stick on the path that you've actually taken. Make sure you don't take chances. Don't take anything like go into areas that you're unfamiliar with. Go down alleyways. Try and run in certain areas, especially if it's bad weather and it's wet and it's snowy or slidey, because you will have an accident because your adrenaline's going through your system. So as I said, number 2, don't take chances. Now, number 3 is quite simple. Stick to areas that you actually know. Now, I said at the very beginning of the video, if you're unfamiliar with the area you're going to, before you actually go into that area, see if you can pick a few places that you will class as safe zones. Have a look around when you actually arrive in the location. Is there areas that you can feel safe in? Is there any, shall we say, public areas? Is there a hotel, a bar, a coffee shop? Things like that. Shops that could possibly have security on them. If in doubt, speak to the staff. That's what they'll do. Staff are there to help. Try and stay within the remit of where you've worked. If you're unsure, double back to a location that you, shall we say, are familiar with. Now, I don't mean just stop and turn and walk into the person. If necessary, casually turn, cross the road safely, and then double back on yourself to an area where you feel more comfortable. Therefore, if the person is actually still following you, then you can take it to the next level that we'll discuss. Now, rule number 4. Yes, I mentioned about going into public buildings before, or going somewhere where you could possibly get support and speak to somebody. The only thing I'll say to you is this. If you can, and safely can, try and get a description of the person. Try and get an idea of what they look like, whether what they're wearing or what they're carrying. It's just that when you go into the public buildings, what a tendency people have to do is say, I'm being followed. And the person says, who by? And then the person goes, by person, oh, I don't know where they are now. It's good to get a description. Because as I've said to people in personal safety over the years, even if we only get a basic description of the person and we elevate it to a higher level, perhaps we can then inform, shall we say, the police, or we can inform the security, and they can possibly check CCTV. Because from my experience of dealing with incidents where staff have actually been followed by, shall we say, individuals, I've seemed to have found out that that person who's, shall we say, carried out that following of an individual has actually done it to somebody else. And the evidence is there because we've got a description and the CCTV has been used. So again, number 4, if it is safe, try and get as much description of the individual as possible. Now, point number 5. Sounds the silliest, I suppose, but if it doesn't feel right, call somebody. Call a colleague, call your manager, your supervisor, but call somebody. If you think it's even more serious, ring the police. Because I will tell you now, I've worked with the police over many years, and they would rather prevent an incident than deal with the aftermath of an incident. So if it doesn't feel right, don't think that you're silly, ring the police. Even when you ring 999, the call handlers are trained to talk to you, to give you pointers, to give you information that is useful. They'll probably give you this information I've just spoke to you about. Don't panic. Stick to an area you know. Go to a safe zone. Make sure that all your valuables are put away. But again, I'll remind you from the beginning of this video. People don't realise the stress that you feel if you are being followed until you've actually experienced it. However, having a system in place, thinking to yourself, the what if. Thinking to yourself, well, if this happened to me, I could do this, this and this. When I encourage organisations to have team meetings, I always say to them, every now and again, pick a wild subject. Pick something, the what if subject of something that could happen. And believe it or not, this video was actually, well, shall we say, given to me as an idea to make by some of the attendees on a class I take. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, whatever you're doing. Please follow us on our various social media sites now, where we're concentrating on our LinkedIn and our YouTube channel that is doing very well. Stay safe, whatever you're doing, and bye for now.